So we are currently enduring Storm Eunice.
New rule, Alex. In the rain, you have to park closer to a trolley bay.
And I thought it might be interesting to explain how exactly storms are named in Ireland. Here in Ireland, storms are named in advance. That really surprised me when I found that out. They are selected by the UK Met Office together with Met Éireann, which is the Irish Met Office, and the Dutch Weather Service. Quick note, Ireland is now part of the UK. The Irish Weather Service works with the UK Weather Service to name storms. Ireland is still not part of the UK. Just need to remind people of that. They picked the names from names suggested by the public as part of Project Name Our Storms. There's a list of names announced every September for the next year. The list is alphabetical with one name for each letter of the alphabet, alternating between male and female. They don't use the letters Q, U, X, Y, Z, and the reason for that is to keep our storm naming in line with how the US National Hurricane Centre names hurricanes. I have tried to find out what happens if Ireland were to reach the end of this list. All I could find was a quote from Evelyn Cusack, the head of forecasting at Met Éireann, saying, if we got to S on the list, it would have been a particularly punishing season. So I kind of take from that we've never actually got to the end of the list. The names are chosen by the three weather organisations out of the ones submitted by the public by popularity, so if a name is entered a lot, it's more likely to be selected. They also want to ensure that the names reflect the culture and ethnicity of the UK, Ireland and the Netherlands. And Evelyn Cusack says that they mostly pick names that can be easily pronounced, which is fair. Although you have to ask, Eunice, really?
I had to bring Millie to bed last night because the wind was so loud that it was freaking her out and she was barking at it. So I had to bring her to bed so she didn't wake all of the neighbours. I grew up in County Mayo with my mother, and I remember when I was young, a big storm actually blew the storm door off our house. Storm doors are normally in front of your front door, and there's a little gap in between so that protects your front door from the elements. However, at the time, this sliding door was actually just a second entrance into the house. It wasn't in front of our front door. And a storm blew it off. And I specifically remember that being a big fucking deal because there's a hole in the side of our house. In my mum's house now, we do have a sliding door in front of the front door. So we have an actual storm door. And there's a funny story about that storm door. In 2020, I was at home in Mayo in my mum's house. Alex was with me and we were waiting there for my Dublin friends to land because they were staying with me for the weekend. They rang me from just up the road. They're like, we're nearly there. And I was like, right, let's run down to the road and wave them into where the house is so they know which house is mine. So Alex and I go out the front door, pull the front door after us, go to open the sliding door, and it's locked. And I'm like, tell me that you have the keys, Alex. We've no keys and we're locked in between the front door and the sliding door. And it was the summertime as well, so it was actually hot. I know that people don't associate Ireland being hot, but it does get hot in the summertime, especially if you're locked in a 2-foot square room with the sun burning through a glass window. I had to ring my Dublin friends and be like, okay, don't laugh. I'm going to need you to go around the back of the house and come in the back door and let us in the front door. And of course, they didn't do that straight away when they arrived. They came around the front to take a video of the two Clems stuck between the front door and the storm door.
What? What? Speak up, you're on camera.
One of the names on the list this year is Ruby. One of the reasons given for selection of that name is because Ruby's mother entered that suggestion and said it was because her daughter Ruby leaves a trail of destruction when she goes through the house. Which I don't know is energy you really want to be taking on when you're naming a storm, but okay. The naming process will open again in June for next year. I'll put the email down in the description, and also there'll be a lot of links to resources that I looked at for this video down in the description so you can read more or fact check me. Because I didn't know this off the top of my head, like I had to actually go look it up. Storm Desmond in 2015 is arguably the most famous Irish storm because the state broadcaster, RT, decided to send a reporter out into the storm for a piece to camera in which she said the now infamous
Don't make unnecessary journeys. Don't take risks on treacherous roads. And don't swim in the sea.
So good. Memed to oblivion.
I just have to jump in here. So while Theresa Mannion might be the most well-known weather meme in the country, I'm firmly in the camp of all the cattle had to be taken off. That's the best Irish storm meme, in my opinion. Change my mind.
Every bit of land we have is covered. And we haven't a ditch now to walk, and all the cattle had to be taken off. Every bit of land we have is covered. Every bit of land we have is covered.
All the cattle had to be taken off.
Let me know if you want a video on like super famous Irish memes. Moving on. A storm in Ireland will only be named when it has the potential to be given a warning colour. We've got 3 colours. Yellow, which is an alert, and it means be aware that this is coming. Orange is a weather warning and means be prepared for the storm. And red is a severe weather warning and basically means take action to protect yourself and or your property from the storm. So for example, if there's like a lot of rain expected and Met Éireann expected to lead to flooding, there's a lot of places around the country that put out sandbags to try and soak up the excess water and stop the water from coming into businesses, onto roads, etc. If a storm comes here from across the pond, the naming sticks. We don't rename it. It would officially be referred to as an ex-hurricane, although it seems that the media in Ireland just revert to calling it Storm, whatever name it had in the US. So an example of this would be Hurricane Ophelia, became Storm Ophelia when it landed here, which by the way caused 70 million euros worth of damage. Thanks for that, America. It's cool. We don't get winter snowstorms very often. I don't think I would describe what I've experienced in my lifetime as snowstorms. I think I would describe them as heavy snowfall. So a couple of times in my life, there's been such heavy snowfall that public transport can't continue, that we've all gotten days off work, we've gotten snow days, and we've just like stayed inside for a couple of days while we waited for it to melt. When Alex and I first started going out, there was a big snowfall and both of us got to stay home from work and we had great fun creating an outdoor back garden fridge for our beers.
Magic trick. Hold on. Light. Now you see me. Now you don't.
Are you going to find those Heinekens again?
Probably not. They're not mine.
There were a couple of years there where we got a big snowfall, but I feel like it hasn't happened in a couple of years, so it's going to be a novelty when it happens again, I think. Although it normally happens in like March, which is really weird, but okay. We apparently do get tornadoes here, which I did not know. Apparently we get about 10 a year, according to Met Éireann. There are only mini tornadoes here, and Met Éireann describes them as weak and brief and says that most of them occur without being noticed. Ouch. Meow. Irish people tend to go mad buying bread and milk when the red weather warning in particular gets released. In 2018, a storm called Storm Emma and an adverse weather event called The Beast from the East clashed right in the middle, and supermarkets were cleaned out of it. There was news articles and everything about how supermarkets had been cleaned out of bread and milk. The Beast from the East was so called because it actually wasn't a storm, it was a polar vortex, and so didn't meet the naming criteria or the naming process for a storm, so it wasn't given a storm name. I don't know who came up with the Beast from the East. Ireland was the last stop for the Beast after it raged through Russia, Eastern Europe and Western Europe. Which is cool, that's fine. Could have stopped in England, but okay. There are a lot of reasons for Ireland's storms and climate in general.
I wanted to go rock climbing, I would have went somewhere else.
And I would be outright lying to your face if I said that I understood it all. Down below in the comments there is an article from Met Éireann which breaks down Ireland's climate and why we have some of the weather that we have. Check out that for fucking rain. Hashtag Ireland. Again, all links to all articles that I read in research for this are down in the description. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see next. And you can check out this video from a few years ago about when the sun comes out in Ireland.